In today's video, I'm going to be showing you the setup of this tank and taking a closer look on what's going on with it, so stay tuned to check that out. What's going on, guys? Justin from h2oplants.com here, and we are in front of a 90L tank. Now this tank was set up about 2 months ago, and we're going to go into depth on how exactly it was set up. Before we get into the rest of the video, I just wanted to take a moment. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. I looked at our analytics recently, and it showed that out of every 4 people watching these videos, 3 of you are not subscribed. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not. That way you don't miss any future tank updates on this one or any other one in this fish room back here. So what we have here is a 90L tank. It's approximately 36 inches by 12 inches by 12 inches tall. And it is a rimless aquarium. Now this tank is absolutely amazing. I love it. I love how it's coming together. It's still not done growing in, but we're going to be taking a closer look at it. So first off, let's touch on the Hardscape. Now the Hardscape was put together by Kevin, Brooklyn Hardscapes. You know, he's done a couple other tanks in the past. This is one that he kind of came up with after I told him I wanted something like an Iwagumi scape, but something outside the box. So we actually came up with this mountain scape. And it's just a whole lot of Seiryu Stone glued together using reef epoxy. And Kevin spent quite some time, almost 8 hours, putting this together. Now, I do have to say, some of it did break. In its current condition, it's missing like 2 or 3 of the stones that were originally here. The reason being is when we transported it to Reefapalooza, as well as the other tank right here, the Paludarium, the stone kind of couldn't support all the bumps that was happening in the back of the trailer that the tanks were in. So a lot of the reef epoxy kind of came loose, and some of the rocks aren't secured. Actually, some of these that I put back in here just to kind of get the scape back up and running, some of them aren't actually secured. So I'm going to have to go through at some point to really get in there and reapply reef epoxy to really get them to stick together. I should note though, this tank was put together to be viewed from both sides. See, now at Reefapalooza, we wanted to have this tank kind of in the middle of our booth so people can walk all the way around it. Didn't quite work out that way because one of the tanks broke, which you guys know. So what we did is we kind of just put it to one side at the booth, and people were just able to view one side. And originally we scaped it and it was actually turned around the other way, and now it's actually the back part is facing out now because I actually like this side more. So after Kevin was done doing the Hardscape, I actually had Jake, who works with us. He packs most of your orders, so if you've ever ordered from us, thank Jake. And Jake wanted to try his hand at kind of planting, and he also wanted to get taught by Kevin, so he helped out and he planted this tank. Now we only used a couple plants. This is a very simple aquascape here. We used dwarf hairgrass. I believe we used Erect Moss. That's what we've come to kind of think that moss is in here. We had a bunch of tissue cultures that we used, and I forgot to get a close-up of the name just so we can commit it to memory. On top of the moss, we also added a couple stems of Rotala Vietnam, which was also used in the desert tank over there. You guys have already seen that. And then when we got to Reefapalooza, Kevin had brought a couple extra plants, and we added some Ranunculus Inundatus to the tank, which is these like 4-leaf clover looking plants. Really cool plant. It is a little bit more on the demanding side, so CO2 and highlight are definitely a must with it. But overall, the tank is doing phenomenal. So now that's not to say that the tank did not have its set of problems. As you see, in the very beginning, we got something called brown slime algae. And essentially, this is kind of new tank algae. It always happens. It forms in almost any tank I set up. It's usually having to do with a lot of light, so usually tanks with a lot of light it forms on. And it's just this like brown massive slimy algae that kind of just coats everything. And it normally goes away on its own, so it really isn't anything to worry about, but you do kind of have to just keep an eye on it, because if you don't kind of break it up or do water changes, it will eventually take over. So really all I did to get rid of it is I did 1 water change. I drained about 50% of the tank, filled it back up, and sure enough, the algae was gone within a week or so. So it just goes to show, when it comes to setting up new tanks, you may get some algae. That's kind of normal in the very beginning, especially if it's like green slime or brown slime algae. And typically the more difficult algae like blackbeard algae or staghorn algae or anything like that, the string algae, will typically form later in the tank's life cycle. But the brown algae and green algae are nothing really to be concerned about, and it kind of just disappeared on its own. But when we got to Reefapalooza, like I said, the rocks kind of fell apart. We did lose a lot of the dwarf hairgrass that we had planted here, so we actually had to go back through and replant some more. But now it's finally starting to really fill in. It's looking really good. Now it's going to take probably another month or so before it really is all filled in. There's still a little kind of spotty areas, but that'll fill in over time. It's actually grown tremendously in just the last month. Now I haven't really trimmed anything just yet. I was thinking about trimming the dwarf hairgrass, but I think I'm going to give it another week or so just because I really want to let it just kind of mellow out. I don't want to mess with it too much. The moss and the Rotala Vietnam do need to be trimmed back. They're growing out of control, so those will probably be dealt with in a future video. Now I know I'll get the question, what light are we running? So this is the Twinstar 600S series, and we're running the 211 Eheim filter. Now I misspoke on the last one with the other Eheim filter. They're all 211s. I think I said it was a 217, but it's a smaller one. It is running CO2. The dwarf hairgrass didn't seem to really respond without the CO2 all too well. So I don't know yet if the dwarf hairgrass really absolutely requires it, but it really didn't grow quickly without the CO2. All in all, I really like the tank. It's looking really good. I do have to resecure those rocks. Like I said, that's a future thing that I have to kind of just get in here and do. But guys, that's really it. This tank is doing absolutely phenomenal. I haven't really done much to it other than a water change once. And it's due for a trimming, so we'll do that this week. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button and leave us a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the tank. Would you do anything differently? Does this inspire you to maybe go out and create your own two-sided aquarium scape? Because, hey, that might be something that you have. Maybe you have a peninsula tank. If you want to help support make these videos happen, you can head on over to our website, h2oplants.com, and pick up many of the plants as well as the Seiryu Stone you see here today. Like I said in the beginning of the video, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. It really helps out. You can click the little round icon. If you want to check out our build of the paludarium tank, you can click up top. If you want to check out our video on the desert tank, you can click down at the bottom, and I will see you guys next time.